Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Good evening, Uganda. Welcome to this edition of the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Today is the 28th day of October. The year is 2024. We are coming to the end of this particular month. That means we just have 2 months to end this particular year, or this particular year. That calls for you to reflect, introspect, and ask yourself some of the goals that you set while starting this year. Where are you at in achieving them? Are there some key performance indicators that you can look out for and say, yes, I think my goal, I'm on the right trajectory? Or you've not really achieved it, which is still okay, because at the end of the day, if you are alive, that means there is hope. And if there is hope, tomorrow will be better. Today on the Hotline Show, as you know, every particular Monday, starting from 7 to 9, we are always here having a conversation about Uganda. And the conversations we hope, they'll create a better country for the people who are living today, this particular generation, but also for the generations to come. We have not been here for a while, but we are back. And for the time that we've not been here, a lot of things have been happening in the country. The main topic of contention, the main issue that is in the media this time round is the National Coffee Amendment Bill. Now, this particular bill seeks to relieve the responsibilities of the Coffee Development Authority and dissolve this particular entity, and after that, all the responsibilities that have been that were being done by this particular entity to go to the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, this particular bill has been tabled by the Minister for Agriculture, that is Frank Tumwebaze. And as I've told you, the main issue is just having all the responsibilities of the Coffee Development Authority be moved to the Ministry of Agriculture. Many legislators are not believing in what has been tabled in Parliament, and they say this particular bill is contentious in nature. The opposition has actually refused this particular bill, but as we speak, we are waiting for the second reading. Now, after the second reading, maybe it will be passed. And if it's passed, that means the Coffee Development Authority will be no more, and everything coffee will be managed by the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, still in that particular line, the Speaker for Parliament, that is Anita Among, made a few statements that some Ugandans think were tribalistic in nature. She referred to Baganda, especially when she was talking about the issue of the numbers. So you will be hearing in that particular video. If you've not actually listened to that video, we have it right here, and I'll request the producer, with time, maybe if we get some time in the future of this particular show, we are going to be playing it. Still away from that particular issue, we have an unfortunate incident that happened. That was last week, a fuel explosion that claimed the lives of 16 people, and many of other people actually got injured. Many people are trying to go to Chigogwa to try to get themselves some fuel from a truck that had got an accident, but unfortunately they got burned, and we were really saddened by this particular incident. The police came out and of course confirmed the number of people who are dead, but also they reiterated the fact that we should avoid such fuel tankers in case of an issue like an accident. In fact, we've been having, this particular last week, we had over 3 accidents involving fuel trucks. I don't know what is happening in that regard. Still, also, the National Unity Platform detainees, or some of the people that were arrested, unfortunately, finally accepted the cases that were put against them. There were 2 cases. One is treachery and the other possessing of explosive arms. And according to the court-martial, with the added time that they've been serving, they will be serving 3 more months and 22 days, and later on shall be freed after accepting these cases. Some people believe this acceptance was actually coerced. But how true is this particular issue? We'll also be delving into that particular conversation. So what you have to do is send us many messages through our social media platforms. We are at The Alternative Uganda. We are streaming live there, but also streaming live at Digitalk TV, that is on Facebook, but also on YouTube. So feel free to watch on either platform and drop those messages. I'll be reading them as we continue with this particular program. Okay, at just 15 minutes past the top of the hour, allow me welcome my guests for the day. They are the usual team. Starting from the extreme right is Honorable Major Pollar Awich. He is a member of the National Resistance Movement, but also the head of the External Affairs, the Director of External Affairs at that particular organization. Then I also have Mr. Charles Kazooba. He is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. And of course, last definitely not least, a gentleman from the Uganda People's Congress, Honorable Joseph Ochieno. I'm going to ask them to give us their opening remarks. So I'm going to start with you, Honorable Pollar Awich. You're welcome.
My opening remarks is that, as usual, I'm happy to be here to share our views with the viewers.
Yes, sir.
It is unfortunate that we have been missing to share with you, and we are back. And personally, as I always do, I promise to be frank and honest. And even in situations where I don't have an answer, I'll promise to bring it later.
This is very decent of you. Some people will maneuver with words. How is the NRM and Mr. President, your chairperson?
NRM is fine. We are doing well. We have had a primary election in Kisoro. We hope it went well. Of course, not everybody can be satisfied. But right now, our preoccupation is to ensure that the remaining few years, we really try as much as possible to ensure that governments complete the manifesto that we took to the people in 2021. At the same time, we are also planning to draft a new manifesto as we go to the people in 2026. Apart from that, as a party and government, there's nothing quite eventful, and we believe that no news is good news.
Exactly.
Because if there were bad news, they would be everywhere. But also, of course, the incidents that we have in Parliament, we believe that we have sent our best cadres there. We hope that they will project the ideology and the interest of the party and the country, because the country is bigger than the party. So we expect and we monitor that our cadres will do the right thing.
Okay, thank you so much. That gentleman is Honorable Retired Major Pollar Awich. He is the Director for the National Resistance Movement External Affairs. Let me come to you, Mr. Kazooba. You're welcome. Your opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Mathew, and Digitalk Television
Yes.
for this opportunity to converse with the world about Ugandan issues. First of all, I would like to put in table my condolences for the families that lost their loved ones in that inferno, the fuel tanker that exploded. let the young people be cautious and value their lives. The Uganda is going to be very interesting, a very interesting place. 20 years, 10 years from today, so there is no need to risk your life. Today when I was coming from home at Natete, floods had cut off the roads. Actually, water was flowing through buildings, so traffic from Chibuye to Kampala got stuck. Then traffic from this side of ours.
Busega? Oh, Natete.
No, from
what is it called?
Nakauka.
Yeah. Crossing through.
You couldn't. And I was asking myself, and the most funny thing about this was that when we reached the flyover, or where there is a Kampala Express that goes under. So they stopped us, and they asked, what is the problem? SFC guys were all over, that Omze is coming from Entebbe. For more than 30 minutes, you're just there stuck in traffic because the old man fears
the president,
his people.
The president.
I don't know whether because to me it sounds like fear. If the people voted for you, why should you be protected in such a manner?
Well, they're just trying to create way for him. Being the first citizen, they're creating way for him to go serve the country.
You see, I saw this on Gaddafi. The last time Gaddafi came to Uganda,
yes,
I was on all those meetings. Even when his men were fighting our men behind the two presidents, fighting each other.
Yes, I remember.
You would see the security this man has, and you'd look at the way he looks down on people. Ask yourself, is this another small god in this world? So this is the picture that Museveni is taking over. I think rather than focusing so much on being protected, let him focus on doing things, on delivering services for people.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Charles. Let me come to you, Honorable Joseph. You're welcome, sir. Your opening remarks.
Like everybody else, obviously I missed the space in the last few weeks.
A week.
In fact, 9 weeks, because the other week I was not available for other reasons.
Yes, sir.
The other week I was in West Nile, commiserating with the people of West Nile over the terrible infrastructure arrangement, but also we had lost a senior congressman who passed on at 87, was a Godo. Fantastic event with bringing across everybody from the communities, across the political divide, across the cultural divides. He was one of those early post-independence leaders, and this quite consoling to see that people were able to come together and have a conversation about the good this gentleman did. I sometimes just wonder if only Comrade Awich and I and others had this conversation about ourselves when we were alive, and agree to agree on important things, like some of the things that Charles is trying to talk about, so that we throw away politics and we throw away artificial whips in the National Assembly. We throw away crude, terrible, acidic language of them versus us, including Oyo Muchori, Oyo, those Baganda, kind of stuff, Kangan, Hang, and then we thought about our country. So it was a nice one, and so, but that said, I also wish to say that I was very saddened by the shocking death of the people in the tanker. The figure is now 16, plus others mainly injured, and 3 other incidents. I was in another media house in which I was asked my opinion And I'm saying this sort of really an indictment, and of course, good enough comrade which is here to give a robust response. We don't come here really to finger point, nor do we come here to play partisan politics. And as I said, I'm a senior citizen. I am not quite sure about unnecessary interest in point scoring, because there are very few people with whom I like to debate normally. I've requested that I should have a debate with Mr. Museveni, and I still hope that before he retires, I'm able to have a debate. But beyond that, it's neither here nor there. But incidents like this, people focus on the wrong thing, to the extent that people begin to say, why do they go there? You're blaming people who don't know where they're going to have the next meal. You're blaming people who culturally know that Museveni's fleet is a full tank of fuel running those vehicles, and it's their money. But them, they can't afford an average taxi fare to town. So if the tanker has...
You don't go very far. It's commando.
So if they just rolled out and then there's a tank in there, is an opportunity, and they think they can get away with the 10 liters, they will. And so that is the concept.
The desperation is what you're talking about.
It is despair and is extreme. And in any case, as I said, other people are looting massively and crudely and openly. But there's something else. My first comment was that less about that. I don't know the circumstance of this accident. It's the roadworthiness of vehicles. Granted, that tanker on a route in which there would be no train. But 40 years ago, these guys came and found trains that would be very effectively run by UPC. I've argued in this program.
That's crying over spilt.
No,
it's a bit spilt for me.
You can't say that. You're a young guy.
Yeah.
No.
Because there's nothing we can change from the past. That's why I want us to focus on the now question.
You're shocking me, and as a president, I take exception. You can't say that. You can't say that young Ugandans should not demand for trains.
I don't say they shouldn't demand for trains. I'm saying I think it's
don't know.
overdue.
I'll be surprised if you haven't done a serious academic critical work. You give context and background.
Yeah.
And in any case, part of the problems in which Museveni has used in this country is that many Ugandans now believe that it's impossible to have a train, it's impossible to have a bus, it's impossible to have a drainage.
Okay, on that particular issue, allow me to ask you something. Where do we blame, not even blaming, to what extent are we to own these particular issues? For example, if a fuel tank falls, yes, I know we are desperate, but I risk my life to go and pick this particular fuel, well knowingly that this thing can be flammable and I may lose my life. To what extent do we have to really blame the people themselves without blaming government? Because now, how does government influence a person to risk their life?
You interrupted me too quickly.
Yes, but please add on that, because I want to come to you.
You're getting a little bit overzealous with this. My point was this, that happens. In any case, that some of these oil tankers should be on the train rather than on the roads, number one. And then number two, I was going to say that the other is roadworthiness of these vehicles. We don't know if the driver has lost control, whether it's a brakes thing. And number three, we don't know how many vehicles are in the streets of Kampala, let's speak Kampala alone, which are roadworthy. So that is the role of government, and the police and others, those related agencies, which is partly what we're trying to say. So at the end of the day, the overall responsible person for the Republic of Uganda is a parent, and it's a government, which is led by the Comrade Awichis, and that is basically what's lacking. So it's not about blaming people. As I say, people can't be blamed. People are circumstantially in the state in which they are. But also when you look through this, you have to go to the underlying issue. Was the driver, and you guys in the media, sometimes you do very terrible work. You go through the headline jobs. What's the level of experience of the driver? Was he licensed? When was the last time? Was he retrained? Had he taken Waraji and things like that? So all these things, but in terms of public health, those should be the critical thing. And of course, in this case, we ended up having up to 3 accidents. Now, I drive in Kampala, all of us drive in Kampala, and the messy manner in which people drive on the roads of Kampala is actually terrible. So it's really about that. But I know you're asking me something else, but this is an introductory thing. That's what I can say about it.
You have even started that particular issue, and that's going. Let me come to you, Charles, because I wanted us to hint on that particular incident. What do you think about that accident, the fuel tank accident?
Uganda, first of all, as a country, we are surviving by accident. That is the first thing you should know. If you were around in COVID, you would agree with me that it was just God's intervention that we survived. Although now government claims that they took a lead role and therefore...
They were even recognized internationally for doing a great job
but
in
those
fighting
of us,
COVID-19.
Me throughout COVID I was moving. Throughout COVID. So I know what took place in the city here, in the suburbs, how people avoided death, for instance. Do you know that most people were taking marijuana?
Yes.
And
other herbs.
Exactly. So was that government
as remedies,
intervention? But they were trying to survive. Do you know how many people survived by helping each other in terms of food? We had a government which brought rotten beans and posho. You remember very well. Now, so Uganda is surviving by accident. The most important thing is that God has stood with us, and I think He really loves us.
Okay.
When you look at some of these disasters, and I keep telling my fellow countrymen and women, value your life so much. Don't try to throw responsibility to government. That government should take care of your life, because I know this government really will not. It will not. I know of so many shops here in Kampala that are selling adulterated foods that are causing cancer. Go to the area of Nama, Venambole, where you try to ask around and find out the number of cancer cases that are growing. Ask yourself, why? Do you think government doesn't exist? It does exist. But now you as a Ugandan, value your life. I studied at Nyakasura, my A-level. My headmaster then, Mehanje, who also happened to have been a headmaster of these people, used to tell me, because I was a head prefect, Kazooba, value your life of all things. Don't die, avoid dying.
You have also
at that time
to me.
At that time I didn't know what it meant. But over time I have known. I don't want to move recklessly at night because I know what is out there. Yes. The government we have is not going to protect you. Actually, it is the aggressor.
Comment on the incident itself.
Now, when such a thing happened, I saw the video. And this person who was shooting the video already was mentioning it.
Yes. Yeah.
That you were this thing can explode.
Before it even exploded.
Everybody knows that it is very much possible for this tanker to explode. From the tanker that exploded here at Namongoda, you remember? And so many people died. So citizens should be aware that these disasters can happen anytime. If you suspect, if your instincts tell you something wrong is about to happen, please move away. Move away. Because however much you're going to blame Mr. Museveni and his government, you will have died, or you will have lost part of your body.
All right.
You understand?
Thank you, Charles.
Yes.
Thank you. You're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. We're still in the incident of what happened in Kigogwa. That is a fuel tank that exploded. If you're just joining us, there was a fuel tank that exploded a few days ago, and over 16 people lost their lives trying to get fuel for themselves. And many of them were injured in the same particular incident. Honorable Awich, you've heard the sentiments of these people, and they feel like government has a role to play in this particular issue. What do you think about that particular incident and the remarks that have been made by these two gentlemen?
Well, Charles made other comments earlier about the president's security protection. I don't know whether I should go into that, but maybe I'll get another time. But
Maybe another time.
But I think overall it is not a well thought out approach to security of a head of state, including that of Gaddafi. Who knows, if Gaddafi had not had that security, he may not would have lived to serve Libya the length of time that he did. So a presidential security is not a matter that you take lightly. If something happens to a head of state, it happens to the whole country. We all know what happened to Rwanda when the 2 presidents died in Rwanda. We are talking of 1 million people died in 30 days. 30 days. 4 weeks, 1 million people. You can't imagine how 1 million people can just die in 30 days. So I like to warn Charles that a matter of a presidential security is a matter of national importance that we can't just talk it carelessly.
Okay.
It deserves the security, it deserves or even more. Now, on the matter of the oil tanker, Charles also is here and there in that blames government for the poverty, but also warns citizens that government will not protect you. Now, this matter, the fuel tank is not only in Uganda. If you pay attention to Nigeria, it is nearly every other month in Nigeria, even Kenya. And you can't say that those same people in Nigeria are impoverished by maybe Museveni in Nigeria and Kenya, or whatever it is, but I think it's just an isolated incident that needs people's behavior. Because it happens in Nigeria nearly every other month, tankers fall and kill people in hundreds, sometimes in tens of 20, 30, 40. What is puzzling is that even if it happened on the same Ginger Road in January, if another tank falls in February, people will still go there and they will still get burned.
That's despair.
So you wonder whether they have forgotten. Even if you're so desperate, I don't think you'd be so desperate to go to death. No. It's something not desperacy. Therefore, the whole tank thing, which is a global thing, not a Ugandan thing, it happens in Kenya, in Nigeria, and other countries we don't know, is an area that is really about mindset. Because you can't explain that the same thing which happened in Nakuru, the people are so poor in Nakuru in Kenya. The same thing which happened in the outskirts of Lagos, the people are so poor in Lagos, and possibly hoping that Museveni is there in Lagos and Museveni is in Kenya, and everywhere Museveni is making people poor and therefore doing it. So the risk that people take is just a material interest which is embedded in every human being of thinking that you can extract or you can pull out a material gain at every opportunity that you have. And that is a bad instinct. We all need material gain. We all need material wealth. But it shouldn't be at all expense. So people should be aware. Now, there's this aspect of Charles saying that we live in Uganda by grace of God.
Yes.
Nothing happens in a country in Uganda or in any country by grace of God. And that is why there's the state. The state and the government is there to ensure the safety of lives and property. It's not a one go. It's through many proactive and protective ventures. And that is why a party goes to the people with a manifesto. The manifesto covers everything: agriculture, health, education, defense, all that. Now, what happens is that when something does not go wrong,
the non-news you're talking about.
Yes, then government has not failed. But when something goes wrong, then government. So people fail to know that the silent happening, the silent occurrences is because government has provided systems.
That's why there is
for example,
the news you are saying.
For example, in Apa, in between Acholi and Madi, towards that district of Moses Ali, there is a land conflict. In Apa, when the Acholis can fight with the Madi, then government has failed to bring unity. That is government. But when Baganda live with Banyankole in Liatonde in peace, that's nothing. Or even when Banyoro and Batoro are not fighting, that is nothing. You don't know that constantly, under every available respect, whether in the protection of law and order, or in the management of land boundaries, or whatever coexistence, government is there. Therefore, it is not correct to say that we live in Uganda by God's grace. I would still want a demonstrable intervention of God. But I can tell you there's a demonstrable intervention of government. And that is why I'm saying where there's peace, government has done nothing.
They don't see anything.
They don't see anything. Okay? A peaceful Liatonde area, a peaceful Banyoro Batoro, government has done nothing.
So
but a conflict, government has failed.
Thank you.
So, colleagues, there's nothing which happens in a vacuum.
Could you help me respond?
He also has, I'm going to give you 1 minute and him 1 minute so that we can conclude this issue. And then he will also respond. 1 minute,
The
please.
president's, I didn't say the president's security is not important. But I am saying over time, his security has become a burden to people who live in Kampala. On a daily basis, people are losing 2 hours of work being held in traffic. I was just checking here. And research estimates that in a year, we are losing 24,000 hours. Now, if you deduct the hours we lose because of Museveni, his movement from just here in Entebbe to Kampala, the time we are losing, which we should have committed to work, affects what we should earn.
Right.
Yet, we are not paid by him. We instead pay him. Now, my argument is that let Museveni invest in Ugandans so that he stops fearing Ugandans.
Okay. Because you remind me of a book, Betrayed by My Leader, where the writer tells a story of an incident where Tadeo Kanyankole tells him, please go back in your car, they are going to shoot you a president. He says, what have I ever stolen from them in Uganda? What have I ever stolen from them? That was around 1988.
Why should the
But
people
now, 30
be
years down
stopped
the road.
for
Thank
2
you.
hours?
Your point has been made. Sir, in 1 minute, what were you trying to respond to Honorable Awich?
Comrade Awich was in a very desperate attempt to justify, which is basically his job, to defend his enemy. I think it is, it is unreasonable and unfair to Ugandans that every time something happens in Uganda, we go simplistic and say it all happens everywhere, even in Kenya. Tankers fall in Kenya and Nigeria, possibly even in South Africa, but we are Ugandans. So the fact that it happened in South Africa, we should not debate a mess that occurred in the streets of Kampala directly as a result of a failure of an enemy regime. Okay. In any case, for example, the big case I made is that actually, if you do statistics, if it was the case that NRA did not break the rail networks, the likelihood of the number of tankers not being on the rail and on the road and therefore on the rail would have possibly reduced by half.
Okay, thank you.
That is quite clearly that.
And remember which, because of time,
sure.
let me have Honorable Awich respond.
I don't think there's much response to really say. Only that I think I had discussed with the congressman sometime about his continuous, what I would call,
Bottom line.
Yeah, of saying that I'm here to defend my NRM.
No,
If anything, he's here to bring back UPC. If I'm here to defend NRM, you have also
defending UPC.
He's actually here to defend and bring it back.
When Ochieno is talking about UPC, he's more angelic. You make it look like it's
he forgets that he's here in a desperate attempt to bring
And I really appreciate your effort to defend NRM, but we need to be reasonable.
To 8 p.m., you're watching the Hotline Show, people defending their side, which is, of course, something that is normal here on the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Please send in most of your messages. I'm receiving them. My producer is sharing them with me, so please continue sending those particular messages. I'll be reading them as we continue the program. Kamuga Franklin Gooding, you say you are live from San Francisco. Thank you so much for watching. There's also a lady called Martha Kahunde Kakule. Hey, I should say Mrs. Martha Kahunde Kakule. You're also watching from Dubai. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to come to you, Charles, in these few minutes, and please let's use a few minutes on this issue. The NUP people that were finally accepted that yes, they tried treachery and they accepted the case of possessing explosives. As we speak, following the time they have spent in prison, they will be serving 3 more months, and I think right now it's around 18 days to go, 3 months and 18 days. What do you think about the acceptance of the National Unity Platform members who are incarcerated today?
First of all,
and just a minute, I was corrected that the death toll of the people that died in the fuel incident is not 16, as I mentioned. By now it's 26.
Wow.
Yes, I have been confirmed on that particular issue.
First of all, our politics has become too messy. During the last elections, I was writing commentaries on some website, which I later closed. But I would look at the details, the information that came through, and I kept asking myself, are we in a country called Uganda? You know that I told you some time back was running another organization which was doing research in all East African countries.
Yes, you told me about
Now, the information that was coming through was only comparable to 2 countries, DRC and South Sudan. The things that are happening there were happening here
during that time.
During that time. And to me, it was quite unbelievable. I could not understand why they were happening. First of all, during that period, NRM, and is here, I think he was at the Secretariat, said they had more than 20 members. 20. Which means if you mobilized your members, you would only need 10 million of them to come and vote. Okay, assuming even if you don't get 10, you get 8. So why would you want to torture people who disagree with you? Why would you want to arrest people who are disagreeing with you? To me, I felt it was fraudulent for NRM to do what they did, the excesses. Because if you boast that you have a huge membership, what bothers you when Chagoranyi, when Besije go to talk to a few people? Because you have the numbers already. So it means they have been living a lie. And that lie came to surface during that election. So a lot of young people, and you're just looking at this, so many young people were thrown into jail. So many were dismembered. There is a body that was thrown here at Nankurabi, totally burnt.
Was there evidence?
Brought by security agents and thrown near the police station.
Burnt?
Things that happened in that election, as a country, we should be ashamed of ourselves. In fact, the president, I thought immediately after elections, the president should have started a reconciliation process
But did you remember
to heal
speech
the
he gave?
wounds. Right
The
now,
speech wasn't for
let me tell you,
reconciliation, really.
what I'm telling you, and this thing
I remember
is
that
just
speech.
covered up. But it's going to explode. The other day, I was just walking in our place, and some drunkard just looked at me and said, "Binobiana biam 7." Do you know what that means? You think he's saying
I
it
tell
to glorify
people-
you or because of the anger?
I tell people that they look at me and they say,
So,
"Abo bebali mchinga."
when we are attacking Museveni, he should understand that he has put our lives, some of us, in firing line.
So what was the mind behind these people accepting that?
Now you break.
They did.
It is understandable to break.
Yeah, yeah.
It is understandable. You're going to be in jail for how long? You have a family. You are still a young person. You need a life to move on. You break. You accept whatever is done unto you. You've had what they call duress. These people were under duress. The legal system should have been able to understand it because they have been under torture.
And then
For all
evidence
these years,
got under
In any
torture.
case, in a military court.
So,
in a military,
That's also another
what we
issue.
are living in, President Museveni has built an explosive. And this explosive is about to go to explode anytime. Unfortunately for them, they are in their evening years. They don't even care. But those of us who want still to live around here, that don't intend to go into exile, we are saying no. We want to stand with these oppressed people. Because we are one. We have one country. I don't want to go around running in DRC that I'm in exile. Why? So, Mr. Museveni should understand that what he has done to these young people, he has radicalized a group that will bounce back. In Israel, Netanyahu wanted to break down the Palestinian Authority. He groomed Hamas. You see what they have done. This guy, Sinwar, who was killed, that designed that whole operation in Israel, his father was killed by the Israelis. That grew in him.
He was born even in a refugee
So he
camp.
was radicalized from childhood. This is what is happening in Uganda. Museveni will not be around today. In 10 years, he might not be here. But what will happen to those of us who will be here? Shall we live in the same country with the people who have been maimed, who have been tortured psychologically, physically, morally? That today you can apply for a job and people ask you of your tribe? Do you know the torture you go through with your masters? But somebody says, no, this one is not ours. My OG told me that when she applied in civil aviation. And you don't know how I felt. It's so bad. These guys have done the worst to this country.
Wow. Thank you so much. Let me come to you. This issue has actually been here for a while. People accepting after a while. Even the case of Besigye, you remember the people who were incarcerated with him. You remember the Rwenzururu incident, people requesting for amnesty and pleading guilty. And yet the prime minister of that particular entity did not plead guilty. People accepting cases they have not really done. But as we speak right now, they are guilty.
It is criminal.
They are guilty.
That's true, and it's extraordinary. And I think all the feelings and sentiments as presented by Charles, I'm not quite sure there's much to say except that beyond that, I think as a country we need to examine our conscience. These are people who've been subjected to torture in military establishments. In any case, it's actually not even civilian authorities. Charles, I lived in exile. Charles, the first time I tasted a cell, full of all those funny things, was a student in Makerere, and as I said, I've never fought in my life. Talk about that. So from nowhere, this nearly saintly guy I thought I would ever be a pope. Actually, all of a sudden, for no other reason but my political belief, and almost certainly a question of identity, simply because I come from a particular angle of the world. And until today, neither Museveni nor his bunch have ever come across to point 10 little things simply of Ochieno. When I contacted a senior public figure who helped process one or two items related to my escape, my exile, a top lawyer, he told me that that mine was recruitment by intimidation, part of what Charles is saying, in a way. But this is the thing. When you go through the media that I went through, including torture, including the go-downs and these underground things that we now know, because those days people didn't understand what it was, you know. You look back to these people. You've gone through all this crude torture. You've been told and you're taunted and traumatized. And by then, there's some of these guys. I know one or two military guys, top military guys, I think one was retired, who taunted me on parliamentary buildings, 4th floor building. You know, they would come and taunt me and then go, taunt me and go, the senior guys. One of whom say, you Makeri ones, you're proud of things. Also, this psychological torture, you reach a stage in which you say, you either give up and die or do anything to attain your freedom. That's basically what's happened. But that said, I just want to take us back a little bit. Charles, it's not surprising that Mr. Museveni has the convoy that he does have. And again, I also agree with you that we're not saying that Museveni should not be protected. I am related to a family that was Obote's top presidential escort unit, and Obote's was merely a unit. Now it's a whole army, you know. So we understand these things. But Obote's convoy in Kampala was possibly 1/5 former convoy. Forget about the convoy when you're going to rallies and you listen to great John ministers. Obote's former convoy from his private home in Kololo to either his office in parliamentary buildings or whatever, it was possibly 1/10 of Mr. Museveni's. Now, Obote was in Kampala. NRA bandits were throwing bombs in Kampala and Luwero, most of Buganda. What is that Museveni is fearing today? The next other larger convoy is Paul Mwanga's, hardly 5 vehicles. Basically one military thing plus police outriders. 3 vehicles plus a Land Rover thing. What is it? The Prime Minister, Speaker of Parliament, Minister for Finance, Minister for Internal Affairs, Minister of Internal Affairs had an extra police thing when the bandits tried to assassinate him in Crescent House, so he had a police speaker. The rest, all cabinet ministers, everybody, including Prime Minister, had one vehicle. Similar Mercedes-Benz. I think the Prime Minister's Mercedes-Benz was slightly different, you know, merely in make. But a driver and a police escort. Here at Kampala, we were fighting a war of banditry here in Kampala and a relatively hostile part of Buganda. What is it that is happening today in these hands with these bandits? What is it? If it's not fear of the torture they're subjecting young, ordinary Ugandan children, including these other people whom they've completely spoiled and destroyed their lives. In any case, Comrade Rich might say, the implication is that now that these guys go ahead and plead guilty, it means their records have been tainted for nearly the rest of their lives.
First, let's start from there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 minutes to the top of the hour. You're still watching the Hotline Show. We're having candid conversations that we hope will make Uganda a better place. Please continue sending in more of your messages. I have a message from a gentleman called Kasumba. And I think, Kasumba, you addressed your particular issue to Charles. I'm going to read it for him so that after the break he can just hint on it. You say, not Kasumba, you're actually Kasamba Rogers. Kasamba Rogers says, what is Charles' solution to the president's security situation? Does he know that there are global security challenges that need to be addressed? Okay, let's go for a short commercial break. You're still watching Digital TV. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga.
Boiling here. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You're still watching the Hotline Show. This is Digitalk TV. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. If you're just joining us, we're having a conversation about some of the issues that are happening in the country, and we are concluding on the issue of the National Unity Platform detainees that finally pleaded guilty of the charges of treasury and possession of explosives. And following their particular time they've spent in prison, they've added them 3 months and 22 days. So as we speak, they only have, I think, 3 months and 18 days to go so that they have their freedom. And just to remind you, these particular people have been tried in the military court-martial, and that is where I want to start from, sir.
They have just spoken,
no,
both of them.
He was concluding his issue.
Both of them have spoken. Again,
his issue. I want you to conclude that particular issue before you went for the break, and comment on the civilians being tried in military court-martials.
It's really a sign of impunity in this country.
Yes, sir.
And just for the avoidance of doubt, it is the case that whatever happens, if you see the fact that even after these people pleading guilty, they were not immediately released, it tells about the inhumanity and the dark-heartedness of a system that has actually destroyed the lives of these people. That said, I think, beyond these conversations, I think Ugandans need to consolidate the art of conversation is part of the sentiments that Charles referred. that I think we need to begin to have slightly much more political conversation across the political divide in terms of political leadership. But most importantly, citizens, Ugandans need to be involved in the political discourse.
Okay.
Ugandans who have not joined political parties should join political parties, and Ugandans who are not able to join political parties should actually engage in the political process. We should mobilize and organize and put pressure on this NRA regime to make sure that actually, as particularly we're going towards the next elections, that there's a change in attitude so that Mr. Museveni does not take people for granted, so that they know and recognize that there's a price to pay for whatever they do. But for 30 seconds only, global security, I know maybe Charles will talk about it again. No, I lived in democracies, and British Prime Minister once upon a time waved at me as a colleague in the Labour Party, with two Range Rovers, one behind him and plus police motorbike outriders down in South London on Old Kent Road. So this is a chief of a major democracy. What is it that is going on? Okay. This nonsense that this guy's livelihood are at stake is nothing to do with that. In any case, a huge amount of money for us.
It's actually like riding a bicycle to work, and I was wishing, what would the president of this country do?
They had asked me a question.
No, let me give him a chance. Yes, let me give him his time. The retired major.
He's a judge.
You notice I gave my few minutes for comment on that.
You will never see that. Scott, I want you to comment on the issue of these National Unity Platform members that finally pleaded guilty to charges of treachery and possession of explosives.
I would go straight for the answer. Unlike my friends. First of all, you give them a lot of time, and you went back to the congressman. But what I'm saying is that in the middle of our discussion, especially when Charles is presenting, I even failed to know the topic on the table. Because it looks like I'm getting these repeated concerns where we seem to have a premeditated topic. And I've said it again and again. Such that even if you bring us here for the germination of a bean, it will be how bad Museveni is. Even if you bring us about the topic of whatever confession, it will be Museveni. And you can be sure that even if Charles leave this studio here to another studio, NTV, with a different topic there, he will say the same thing. So I would ask that one day, maybe we make it a routine before we start, 30 minutes, we discuss how bad Museveni is. So that in the next discussion we leave it. Because really, I am sure our viewers get lost. Of course, in some studios I know that talking this thematic concern hands you a celeb. In other words, if you jump up and start talking of how bad Museveni is, they will invite you to the next studio because maybe it works in some thematic concern. But really, that is unfair. We even fail to know which topic we are discussing. Now, there is claims about torture. These claims are unsubstantiated. Colleagues, I want you to know that there is a procedure of Red Cross visiting all detention centers. Even military courts are visited. So if there was claims of torture, it should have been documented. 2, Uganda is under a force to comply with international conventions. This convention says detention centers must be open to recommended bodies, including Red Cross. Go to Makinde. Red Cross visit people in Makinde detention centers. In Luzira, Red Cross is there. Where is there documentation of torture? Somebody just comes and lays a claim and leave it there to the viewers. This is not fair to Uganda.
Your court recently awarded a gentleman called Kapwenza Rukirabaseija compensation worth 50
Those are known claims, and that's why I'm saying we don't make blank.
The places you are saying that are checked. That's where Kapwenza was tortured from.
Yes, and those are, I want known claims, not a blanket claims of these people have been going under torture. They have been tortured. They have been mined. They have been what? No.
Remember the same government you are saying.
Let him submit.
Remember the same government you are saying.
He might walk away.
Remember the same government you are saying. The government passed a law. They passed a law saying
that alone is torture.
No, the government passed a law saying if you are tortured, it's a law passed by government. If you are tortured, whoever tortures you, first of all, now under the law, does not have what is called the defense of Attorney General. In the past, if a police breaks your leg, it would say sue Attorney General. Under the current legal Anti-Torture Act, it is no longer the case. So you have a right to sue the person who tortured you directly, or even sue Attorney General. So it is not enough to make blanket claims on torture. If it is the case of the colleague you have said, it's okay. So we should restrain from blanket tortures of torture and all this. Now I come back to
this group was not tortured.
I come back to the issue of the plea. Now I want us to understand with viewers that DPP or the prosecution has the constitutional mandate to prosecute or even drop a charge anytime. But the Criminal Justice Foundation is that states don't want to prosecute all cases. That is a beginning point. And that is why under criminal justice procedures, they are first of all, even in police, community policing. The idea is, can we prevent it before any crime even occurs? Two, when a crime occurs, there are procedures there, including what is called plea bargain. Plea bargain to the state is that not everything must be prosecuted. If you have a charged person, under plea bargain, the procedure is that the prosecution sits with the accused and lays down to the accused, this is what the state has to bring against you. This is the evidence. However, not everything must be prosecuted or long sentences. If you agree to a plea bargain, you bargain, and the arrangement is that you have lesser sentencing or charges. Even charges can be lowered. So all these are...
So it means I have done what
yes,
they are saying.
Yes. So in other words...
Just a minute. How is it that for 3 years, these people have refused the charges, and finally, out of the blue, they chase their lawyers and they plead guilty?
That is what I'm saying. It happens even to much longer ones. Even if you went to Gulu, in non-political, say, areas, even if you went to Mbarara, the plea of non-bargain plea is a criminal justice procedures. It is only that at this case, you find it happening to this particular group.
But are you sure
I cannot tell you, I can assure you, even if you have a cousin in Mbarara, let him go to prison tomorrow, or in Tororo. Therefore, the overarching position of the state is that not everything should be prosecuted, and the state is not interested in prosecuting. For example, note that even in criminal justice system, there is also a provision which says that instead of convicting one innocent person, you rather let 5 guilty people free. In other words, the state is hesitant. The state is more bent on protection. And that is why there's an offer of plea bargain. That is where there's an offer of plea bargain. So whatever has happened in the case of Noop is a normal justice procedure system embedded in our criminal justice system. And it is in all prisons, whether Gulu, Mbarara, or anywhere. Only that now
why try them in a military court martial?
Why try them in a military court martial has been a matter of debate. It was decided by High Court. It was decided by Court of Appeal. By good luck, the ruling was that because the law was saying if you are found in possession of military stores, offenses described under the army law, then you should be tried on what is called service offenses. Now, that was the law and passed by Parliament. But some people went to Constitutional Court to say the law itself was wrong, because why would you try civilian in a military court? So they challenged the law. The High Court ruled in favor. The Court of Appeal ruled in favor. Right now, it is at the Supreme Court.
How long has
so
it been?
what we are waiting for It's a Supreme Court to pronounce itself. If the Supreme Court pronounces itself that that law passed by Parliament is wrong, then it will not be there. It will be said that this section.
You've not answered my particular question.
Why I'm telling you is
the National Unity Platform members.
Because they're under the offenses, prescribed offenses. I'm telling you.
Okay, let me give you another example.
Do I answer you?
Yes, you have
I'm surprised you were not getting my answer.
No, you have answered me.
Yes, now I have answered.
Yeah, now
I thought you were all along seeing the answer.
Let me come to you. Let me still come. So, how different was the possession of explosives with the Kanyamunyu case, who had a gun as well?
The Kanyamunyu case, actually, they prefer the higher offense. You see, the prosecution can prefer a higher offense. Higher offense is that a murder is higher than your possession of military stores. So if you already preferred a murder case, which is punishable by death, then the prosecution would have no issue with preferring a lesser offense. But please, I want to repeat this. I am surprised that when I was explaining High Court of Appeal, you were not seeing my answer.
I was
my
seeing
answer was these people
answer.
were charged in this court because they were charged under these acts, which is passed by Parliament, which I told you already is being challenged. And if it is challenged successfully in the Supreme Court, then there will be no more taking civilians to courts,
no problem.
Of military courts.
Just 15 minutes past 8 p.m. Let's leave the audience to be the judge and juror of this particular topic or discussion. He says that they did what they did, and that's why they accepted the cases that they accepted. And this has been a story not only for Bobi Wine and the National Unity Platform. We have had this case in the massacres in Rwenzururu, the people there. We've had the same issue with Besigye in the past. People finally breaking, and many saying after coercion from the government. This is from the mouths of the people themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, let's leave that to you and the court of the public. The good thing this country knows the conscience. Let me come to you as we move to the issue of the Coffee Amendment Bill. In fact, let me start with Charles, if you don't mind. Charles, for background for our people who are watching, if you're just joining us, the Coffee Amendment, the National Coffee Amendment Bill, is a bill that is going to transfer all issues coffee from the Coffee Development Authority to the Ministry of Agriculture. So all the responsibilities that have been done or that the Coffee Development Authority has been doing have actually been given to the Ministry of Agriculture. Now the only issue here is that Ugandans and many coffee farmers do not agree with this narrative. My main question is why? Why is it a problem when government, dissolves the Coffee Development Authority and merges all its responsibilities to the Ministry of Agriculture? And just remember, this comes from a cabinet meeting, an idea that was started in 2021 of rationalizing government agencies. That means some bodies were merged with ministries in order to reduce things like, budgetary costs, employees and things like that, to really try to create one particular system to manage these particular agencies. Why is it that it's different when it comes to the coffee? I'm going to come to you, Charles. What do you see in this amendment?
First of all, there is something fishy. And I'm going to make my analysis, then Major Awich will complain that I'm veering off into other areas. But
even if we're talking war in Ukraine, it will end up in Museveni.
Issues here in Uganda are so interconnected because Museveni has actually turned Uganda into his company. Now, the coffee issue. I want to take our viewers backwards so that we make a reasonable analysis. So many years ago, cooperatives died. They said they were not accounting for the resources they received. They had become, some of the officials had become corrupt. But I was fortunate enough because I did an investigative on Banyankore Kweterana for 2 years. 2 years. And I hunted down for all those old men that were in charge. What they told me was a different picture. It was a political move to destroy cooperatives. Number two, if you remember very well, General Saleh, a brother, a young brother to President Museveni, has heavily been involved in coffee. In fact, some years ago, he was even given money to go and promote our coffee. That money disappeared. He has never accounted for it. Never, up to today. The rationalization decision or idea came from General Saleh's Operation Wealth Creation.
The rationales of all government agencies or CDA?
They authored the issue to rationalize government agencies.
All of them?
All of them. It came from Operation Wealth Creation. I'm making statements so that you can add the dots. PASAID, the organization headed by Odrekuru Awogu, the in-law to President Museveni, which now is at the forefront of promoting coffee.
Repeat that again.
PASAID, that is run by Odrekuru Awogu, an in-law to President Museveni, which is spearheading today the promotion of coffee.
Yes, which is true.
In fact, they have received a lot of money. You've even seen the brother-in-law attack him directly. PASAID is under Operation Wealth Creation. Did you know that?
No.
Now, we are, if there is no conflict of interest, because me, I've been asking myself, what does the first family want with people's coffee?
You've taken it back to first family.
No. Why are they, where there is coffee everywhere, they are there. Why? I mean, what is the big deal with the coffee? So, if you studied some political economy, you would understand that to manage society, you have to manage the resources.
The economics. The money.
You must own the factors of production.
Exactly.
Once you have the economy, the economy in your hands, then you are able to dictate the political destiny. Because everybody will dance to your tunes.
Have the money.
The people who are saying, please, because Museveni's argument is we should process coffee and sell finished products. Isn't it? We gave him an opportunity when he came to us and said he wanted the money to invest in processing cotton so that they can make clothes. I've ever been to that factory of Kananathan. There is nothing. It is, you go there. So we ask Museveni, if we gave you that opportunity and you failed, how sure are we that even the coffee you will handle? Because you lied to us that I can manufacture clothes. We taxpayers contributed the money and gave him, and he dumped into a factory run by Kananathan here in Bogorov. I happened to have gone there when they were working. But all the materials were being imported. And here what was happening was putting together things and they sell. That is exactly even what is happening today. There is nobody that is manufacturing a cloth in Uganda. You go and ask anybody. But Museveni will tell you that we are adding value. What value are we adding? Why don't we accept our position as a country and move gradually?
Okay, other agents.
If there is no ulterior...
Are you timing us?
Please let him speak, yes.
If there is no hidden motive behind this, what are they after? And people are right.
Just a minute. They have rationalized other agencies. Why not this coffee?
Did they tell you why they were rationalizing?
Reduce expenditure.
They said, is it 1 trillion? That is the expenditure they were trying to reduce. 1 trillion, how much money is spent by the president every day?
Around 2 billion, I think. A total is 802 billion. That's the budget of the State House, Mr. Museveni.
How much is spent in the parliament daily? So, any sane mind would look at public expenditure of politicians, not technocrats. In fact, our technocrats are underpaid. Rationalization, I have talked to people in there, those technocrats. Yes, it does not help at all. It doesn't. I've told you this is an idea that came from General Saleh's organization, Operation Wealth Creation.
But does not make it bad, because the fact is, you realize how much work is duplicated among
Have you been connecting the dots?
Yes, I have.
I've told you, he was the first to promote our coffee. They gave him money and the money was wasted.
Yes.
He never accounted. He formed Operation Wealth Creation, which is a parallel shadow government that is not backed up by any law in this country. Again, the second promotion of coffee is under his organization.
Yes, under the president's son-in-law.
No, the organization of Drake is supervised by General Saleh.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. General Saleh and the son-in-law.
As we talk, a lot of billions of money have been put into PASAID. And they can't be, that money can't even be accounted for.
I understand.
It is taxpayers' money.
Yes.
Now, you are saying that our coffee goes to Ministry of Agriculture, which is now taken over by the military.
The minister.
No, it is being run by the military.
Okay, you mean the Ministry of Agriculture?
Yes. What don't you see? I mean, some of these things, you must first go back.
No, I believe, because there was also a time when they needed the
Ministry of Agriculture is run by a PS who is a military man, isn't it? What does it tell you? Because a military man follows orders.
Yes.
You don't question orders. You just put the dots together.
Okay, let me read for our people here the objectives of this particular bill. One, the main objective of this act is to give effect to the government policy for rationalization of government agencies and public expenditure adopted by a cabinet meeting on the 22nd of February 2021. Then 2, without prejudice to the general effect of subsection 1, the following objectives shall be deemed to fall under this particular bill: the merging, mainstreaming and rationalizing of government agencies, authorities and public expenditure, thereby relieving the government of the financial drain of its resources and the burden of wasteful administration and expenditure. And we can agree that there has been a lot of wasteful expenditure. 2, there is the facilitation of efficient and effective service delivery by clearly delineating, delineating the mandates. Just a minute. Just its mandates and functions of the government agencies and departments, and thereby avoiding duplication. 3, the promotion of coordinated administrative arrangements, policies and procedures for ensuring efficient and successful management and financial accounting and budgetary discipline of the government agencies, enabling the government to play its proper role, and more. It looks these things.
Government's justification is purely empty when it comes to rationalization.
For now,
it is empty. Let me give you an example so that you understand it very well. When Operation Wealth Creation was started, by the way, it was started during the campaigns. It was supposed to cater
Which campaign?
for these people, the veterans, who were in the bush and came out.
And many of them are
You
working
remember
there.
there was a
Many of
hot
them are
contest
working there.
between Amama Mbabazi and Museveni. And the fear was that Amama Mbabazi had started courting the veterans. So they had to find for them a soft ground.
They are there.
That was the birth of Operation Wealth Creation.
Okay.
And they deceived the country that they are going to supply inputs, that was their work. Today, as we talk, Operation Wealth Creation is everywhere and nowhere. They're in entertainment, they're in tourism.
Thank you.
In fact, you cannot
Let me
define
first
their
stop you from
mandate.
there. I want to come to you, sir. Really, he mentions these things. I look at his mistrust. It's more from the mistrust, and many Ugandans having the same mistrust.
No, it's not mistrust,
And
but
basing
fact.
on that particular background of General Saleh. And many people are saying that the first family is actually interested in this thing. And he has also asserted the same issue. What do you think, sir?
They're interested, or he's actually providing
No,
evidence.
okay. What do you
that
think
they
about
effectively-
let's start with the bill itself.
The Republic of Uganda is being managed like a private property. You could as well just go ahead and find a way in which you legislate and make sure that the Republic of Uganda is effectively property of one man, one family, and all our property therein belongs to them, and then we work for them as individuals. And this is a confirmation of that. But look, you can read Charles in whatever way, but what Charles has just said in the last 2-3 minutes tells exactly the manner in which this country has been run in the last 40 years, unfortunately. You would make a spirited argument, a spirited case against, in support of...
They look good on paper,
Russia.
don't
Of course,
they?
of course,
They really look good
they
ideas.
sound English rather than economics. I'll tell you that. Look,
Okay.
as way back as 1965,
Yeah.
Milton Obote's independence speech of 1965, 3 years into independence. If you read it, I don't know where the NRA researchers are in this regime. They could just pick our independence, five-year development plan and programs post-independence, and then turn around a government and economy. We managed to talk about Operation Wealth Creation. We managed to push the percentage of Africans engaged in the national economy from 12% to 35% by 1965. Now I'm told the Sudiris are boasting that they control 65% of our national economy. Within 3 years, there was no tractor hire services. They created tractor hires of government across the country. They created facilities for incentives for farmers to borrow money. So did they do for subsidies. Cotton and the coffee cooperatives grew from about, I think, 18% at independence, because the cooperative principle was there, which is part of the foundation of UPC in any case anyway, from 1950s, to 65% within 3 years. Fast forward. What was the thinking about rationalization in the first instance? What was not working when these guys decided to create these agencies? So forget about every argument that Charles may be making. What was wrong then with government ministries for these guys to go ahead and kill the cooperative movement, kill Coffee Marketing Board, kill Lint Marketing Board, kill Dairy Corporation, and kill all those agencies that were effectively working then under UPC administration, create the agencies that they've created, and now they feel they're too expensive to run. In any case, the important point Charles made about coffee is criminal. I think people under Mr. Museveni need to be taken to Luzira. The coffee plant, Charles...
Even me.
if you're found to be annoying,
He would be collateral.
if you're found to be wanting, I did not say all of them. So but
The shoe fits you, you are Cinderella. Yes,
Comrade, for the first time, you made a very powerful point. Okay, except Comrade Wich. So these guys need to go to Luzira because the coffee marketing board, the coffee plant in Bugolobi, was the second most sophisticated, most productive coffee plant on this continent. I mean, the most productive in the continent and the second best in the world, following one in Brazil.
Yes.
These guys killed it, and you know what Charles said. They killed it. The place is like a ghost. Was even turned into a place for making clothes.
Yes, sir.
Do you need to ask any more questions of what went wrong? No. It's quite clearly the case that there is politics going on here. I think if you see...
but how about the issues that these guys are raising? The things of duplication?
Okay, that's why I said they should be taken to prison. So why didn't...
But are they valid issues?
No, they're not.
No, because in the past they may not have realized that, but now they do.
No, the reason why they are not valid is backed by the concerns raised by Charles. That actually it appears that even if they were, we are suspicious that their interests and that Mr. Museveni and his family are trying to get the new cow thing called coffee and put in their pockets. But actually, the rationalization of a coffee thing, by the way, in principle, most of the current coffee exporters are not complaining, as a matter of fact, about this rationalization. So to them, it doesn't matter whether the thing is rationalized or not, whether Museveni goes or not, and Museveni will go anyway, whether NRA loses and they return to their farms looking after cattle, which they will do anyway, Coffee will continue and people will continue to produce coffee, and the coffee prices will continue going up. So people really are not bothered. The issue is the game behind the whole process. The only one agency at the moment, interestingly, which has a very, very big case for being left as it is UNRWA. Now, surprise, surprise, Mr. Museveni is pushing UNRWA. I understand his politics from outside his family, which is a competition between which member of the family who's who, and the leadership and management of UNRWA, for which I will not go into details. So if it's something like that, it tells you that, well, it's not about the Republic of Uganda, but about what happens in NRA. But let me tell you what, I want to show you something that government does. Within the early hour, I saw something from a member of parliament and a junior minister in the new British government. And this is what they've done. Yeah? Good news with some excellent announcements from Labour over the weekend for young people and their families. Yeah? Big investment to rebuild 50 schools in a year. Tripling the funding for free breakfast pilots, something that I was part of the conversation from the early 90s. That you feed children, you make sure that you have good access to schools, particularly children whose parents can't afford, and you will turn around their lives. Confirmation of £1.8 billion investment in childcare expansion, including new schools based on nurseries. 44 million to support kingship and foster carers to keep more children in stable and loving homes. If you see the kind of conversation that government have about the most vulnerable, the way they put in investments, and you look at what we talk about, not only the most vulnerable in terms of ordinary farmers and poor people, as we start the conversation, but the most critical sector, meaning coffee, and we're playing politics with it, it tells you where we are as a country.
Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Honorable Awich. What do you think about this amendment that is going on of rationalizing the Coffee Development Authority and merging its responsibilities with the Ministry of Agriculture?
This is a well thought out move, regardless of where it came from, whether it came from Saleh, like Charles alleges. In any case, it had to start from somebody anyway. And you recall that the president asked advisors. So it doesn't matter whether it came from Karuhanga or from Charles himself, but it's a matter that came up and was discussed. What I want our viewers to know is that these agencies that we are now crying that government is killing and it is so bad was created by government. So
by people.
Was created by government.
By
UNRWA, dairy, coffee. In the case of coffee, specifically in 1991. So if Charles says by the people, I don't know where people met and created. But we all know that under social contract, the people give the mandate to government to execute, to govern on their behalf. So we can as well say the government did it. Now, how can you be crying for what I have created and now I'm rearranging and created? For example, if it had been created...
You're rearranging it for a selfish motive.
No. Selfish motive is the point.
No. So I first want viewers to know, and this takes me to his question. His question was, why had it been created when UPC government had cooperatives? President Museveni has answered this, only that some of us are so biased that we don't even listen. But I advise people who are even opposed to him to first understand him. Because for us in court as an advocate, how will I even pose the opponent if I've not even had this point of view? So some people even oppose without hearing. That question is answered by Museveni. Museveni says that because of the machinery way of working of civil servants, they had failed to do this thing within the line, within the government ministries. So to make things effective at that time, these agencies were created so that people are paid more and they work. This was the spirit. So, and it was created. So these things were created by government for all intent and purposes. How then are you, if myself, I created a house, for this case, I don't want you to say it is a private property because that is what you say. But if I am a father and I have one house, then I created one for the children. And then I say, no, that house is not good, come back to this one. Why are you blaming me? It is me.
Okay, what is the added advantage for the ministry doing
I'm coming to that.
role?
Now, when this thing was created by, for example, Kofi in 1991, for the reason that I've given, the machinery reason, it was set in place. But in 2013, it was noticed that this UCDA was not doing anything. When it was noticed, the only thing they were doing was in areas of exports, compliance with international thing, like put this quality. But the real expansion of coffee was not being done, to the extent that Operation Wealth Creation was done to be sure that the seedlings is being planted, because UCDA was not doing it. Now, when this wealth creation was created, and this now makes me go to his other question, that soldiers follow order. What is wrong with following order? In fact, it is the reason that President Museveni relied on soldiers, because soldiers are disciplined. When you tell a civilian staff, it will. Did you know, for example, my Congress brother, did you know even why there's parade in the army? Parade.
No, I don't know.
Among other things, parade is for beauty. You know, you entertain people. But the first part of parade is that you instill discipline in a person. If they tell you to turn left to a soldier, you turn left. Now, for a civilian, they will even ask, why not right? I see right, there's more space. It is even clean. Now, when you tell a soldier, take 100 seedlings, he will follow.
No, let's go back to the topical issue. What is the ministry going to do better?
You're
that
not
CBA
going
has
to derail
failed?
me when I'm prepared to answer your question. So I am saying that because of that inability, wealth creation was created. Because why am I insisting on this? Because the seedlings, the expansions, the growth of coffee was not by UCDA. It was by wealth creation. For example, Colonel in Samba planted 1 million seed and 1,074,000. Now, this increased the acres to 38,000 acres. This was not UCDA. This was wealth creation. At that time, 7% of the homesteads was outside the money economy. So, are we saying now UCDA planted 1 million seedlings? Or we are saying Operation Wealth Creation? If, for example, you had told me that why are you killing UCDA when it planted 2 million seedlings, I would understand. But there's no evidence. Instead, evidence is on wealth creation. Now, here, Karuhanga, complaints started complaints started coming about wealth creation itself. Now, what did government do? Change to give money to people themselves. This is why there's a genesis of PDM. Saying now, since we're already having a bit of complaints about, because there was a complaint of poor quality, that even the soldiers who are buying this thing is poor, much as they have given the 1 million. Then they are saying it comes late. This seedling comes late when the rain has already gone. So government changed and said, give cash to people to do it themselves. Therefore, I want to stop at this, to say at this point that it is a false claim to say UCDA has expanded coffee. False. The expansion, including counting the seedlings that are counted, was not by UCDA. It was by Operation Wealth Creation. Same thing with dairy.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yes.
What is different that the ministry is going to do that the CDA has failed to do?
What the ministry is doing is actually what you have read. And you yourself confess it is good. You read it
on paper.
Yes, you read and you actually you were telling them that this is good.
No, the truth is, the
so what else do you want me to answer other than that?
But in this country, we know that the papers are.
Why do you doubt it? Why don't you wait it for implementation? You have read what government is going to do.
Give me a track record that a ministry has done in the past that has really come out successful. Just give me, paint a picture for me, an example. You lawyers use precedents.
For example, okay, just one of. I really want to answer questions and direct. I take you said I pick any ministry. Ministry of Health. Do you know that the life expectancy has moved from 43 years to 64?
But those are donors. It's not your government.
Have I answered you a ministry?
You have answered.
I've answered you a ministry. So therefore, I want to conclude this matter by saying. I want to conclude this matter by saying. There are other cash crops. You know, in the past we had this other
cash crops, yeah. Cotton,
the four.
Coffee, tobacco.
But now we have many cash crops. Are we now saying we are going to have authority for simsim, authority for pineapple, authority for this? What is so special with coffee?
Kale.
Okay.
Thank you so
now,
much.
final on tribal sentiments.
I know, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I had not asked, and that's why I wanted you to react to him, but also start and comment on the tribal sentiment. People feel that the Waganda are being attacked. This comes at a time, just for the benefit of our audience, that a video leaked of Speaker Anita Among. In fact, Parliament has denied that video and say that it is AI generated. This particular video was targeting Baganda. Here, listening to us say, do we have the numbers? Don't let those Baganda. Before she could finish the statement, someone muted her microphone. But according to the Speaker of Uganda, this video was AI generated. Though there are some people who are watching live and can confirm that this lady spoke these statements. Let me come to you, Charles.
There was a gentleman running good African coffee.
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
That man invested a lot of his resources.
You're talking about Rogasira?
Yes, Rogasira. He was never supported by government. Never. Instead, his government has supported somebody called Nelson Tugumi. If you just track his record and you understand that we are running a mafia state. Now, he's trying to defend the genocide. And me, I've insisted, and I will always insist, that he is part of the problem. Because you cannot have administrative structures, official administrative structures established by law, running affairs of the public, and you are just behind there running a shadow government which is doing all the decision makings and even nominating appointees. Even the parish development model that he's talking about came from genocide. Has it succeeded in your opinion? We shall be looking at the reports. Now, he is part of the problem, and I've always insisted he has to step out of some of these issues, because for us, like I told you, these issues are going to cause us problems. Right, yeah. Tomorrow they are not here. Just give them 20 years. Okay. They are not here. First wait.
Yeah. I want you to go to the issue of Among, because we don't.
And exactly that is what I'm going to. Tribalism. Yes? Don't you think, okay, let's assume that the speaker, loose as she is, said it. It could have been the thinking of somebody.
Yeah.
Because just the other election,
She is a mature adult. She can say things on her own. Why do we have to bring in another person?
she was representing somebody.
That's what you choose to perceive. I realized that perception.
Because let me
She
tell
did
you,
not mention any person.
No, yes.
Those were her sentiments. She did not even
you
know
see,
that the
we
microphone
can
was on.
discuss something, 5 of us here, separately. But by slip of a tongue,
But don't also put it on the other people. You don't have
I've not
evidence.
yet. But me as somebody who is trying to analyze, I don't think the words came on her tongue by accident. She could be representing somebody. Because we've just come from an election where everybody is claiming that Buganda has betrayed the NRM. Everybody, even these people, when they are in their meetings, they say it.
How?
Buganda has betrayed us. In fact, there is now a strategy. They are developing an initiative to reclaim
As
Buganda.
you conclude.
So when you look at the land being stolen in Buganda, do you blame Buganda? Or do you blame the people who are staying in the Buganda? And because the land is being stolen, that is a fact. And nobody is...
A lot of land grabbing is in here, this Buganda region.
Exactly. Now, their livelihood is being tampered with.
Coffee?
Yes. Because they used to... I've grown up in Buganda. They used to have matoke. Matoke is no longer in
But coffee
Uganda.
is in
Now,
Mbale, Eastern Uganda.
Yes.
Even these days in the
Nobody
Western
is
Uganda,
denying.
it's too much in Kigezi.
Each region can defend itself. You know that Toro and Chigezi right now are in a crisis because tea has been decimated. There is no tea.
Yeah,
In fact, most likely Toro and Chigezi are going to bring new people. You just wait.
Okay.
Now,
Conclude.
Buganda has an issue. And we should stop hiding behind the tribalism. They have a very genuine conversation on coffee. Single-handedly, Mengo has been promoting the growing of coffee. Single-handedly.
Now,
Now, people are beginning to reap. And here you are. You want to control the profits from coffee.
You remind me of, there was a time when Pineti was also interested in the coffee. And I know Pineti to be...
She represents,
she represents Mr. Museveni said that I'm Pineti. Yeah, I'm Pineti. Sir, comment on Anita Among, the Speaker of Parliament, her remarks.
It is shameful, and if true, it could be criminal because of promotion of hate speech.
Is that hate speech?
And if true, the context, the broader context, including the spirit of the observation. And then 3, if true, it should be also a resignation matter. A speaker in an average democracy, if they were caught off the mic like that, would have resigned. And then, but of course, this is not democracy. And then number 3, that Comrade Awich, I'm not taking it back, but I'm linking them. Comrade Awich said in 1991, they brought in legislation linking this coffee thing because the system was not working. These guys had been around for only 4 years, experimenting and busy stealing and selling our public assets to themselves. From 1991, it takes them 33 years to realize that whatever experiment they put in place was not working. These are bits of the angers that are linked with the citizens of this country. People get annoyed, and then you go to the National Assembly. And when people are legitimately seeking the opinion of their representatives, and Comrade Awich, by the way, as a matter of interest, when it comes to game of politics, legislators generally will go to side with their constituents. So if it's the case that actually legislators in Buganda know about the sensitivities of the coffees, sometimes it's not even about rational. Because actually, from my perspective, I could actually argue that in a normal situation, if there was a UPC government today, I would actually reorganize this thing in such a manner that I would take it back to the cooperatives. So neither of these conversations would basically apply. But if it is the sentiments of the citizens in Buganda and all other coffee growing areas, their respective legislators know that those are the people who voted for them. So they will come to the National Assembly and take a position and speak from such perspective. So to do so, to speak in the manner in which Anita said so, and to do so in a manner in which is responded by Chris Obore, talking about artificial intelligence, is actually playing to the, basically insulting public conscience, and really disrespectful to the views and opinions of those. Basically thinking, sort of
taking people as a fool.
Sort of taking people as a fool, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Because of time, I'm going to stop you here. Honorable Awich, I want you to conclude on that particular issue of the tribal sentiments that many people are having, that the speaker is a bit tribalistic in her statements, especially around this issue of coffee.
I followed the speaker's comment, and Chris Obore, of course, said that it was artificially generated. But I'm told, I don't know how true it is, that there is a function that tests whether it was artificially generated or not.
There are tools.
And they said the tools tested and found that it was not generated, meaning that therefore the speaker said it. But about tribalism, and especially in relation to coffee, Museveni is one man who detests tribalism. And he has no intention of tribal sentiments about Buganda. First of all, the Prime Minister of Buganda came on board after the 1 million I was telling you about planting seedlings. He just came on board to support the move that wealth creation was already saying, plant coffee, plant coffee, plant coffee. Two, if you look and you say there's a tribal sentiment, say on the side of NRM or Museveni, all the industrializations in Kapeka, in Kampala, in Wakiso, in Nakasongola, everywhere, this forest on Mukono,
Mabida.
Namamve, all about 80% industrialization are in Buganda. Therefore, even if it was the speaker who said it, I don't think Museveni would be happy with her. Contrary to what he says.
That there is someone behind her.
Yes, even if it came from the mouth of the speaker, I am sure Museveni would really detest it. Because it is not in his scheme.
Seek her to be sacked?
Museveni would detest it.
As you conclude,
and therefore, so it is final conclusion?
Yes, you put your parting shots first, conclude that point also.
Oh, on this point only?
Yes, and also give us your parting shot.
My parting shot is that, look, on the issue of coffee, it is on record that it is wealth creation that gave the quantitative expansion of coffee in terms of the millions of seedlings, not UCDA. Let UCDA tell you what they planted. 0. 2, UCDA was a creation of government, and therefore it is government to see, is it effective? Now, if government has now taken it back to the ministry and it works, will somebody again in future say, why are you removing it from the ministry? Because it is government which makes timely assessment. It created it, it has taken it back to the ministry. In future, it can create something else.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
On tribalism, whoever takes Uganda to tribalism, that is not NRM. That is not NRM spirit. Museveni would detest it. Even if it came from his son, Museveni would detest any tribal sentiment.
Okay. Thank you so much. 2 minutes to the top of the hour. Allow me to read the messages of our people. And I'm going to strictly, I think, limit them to 2. There is a lady called Nache Unerita. Thank you so much for watching and always watching, your ardent viewer. You say it's really shameful that Honorable Awich is defending a dead horse with hope that such a dead horse can carry luggage. He seems to agree that their soldiers are thieves who supply seedlings of poor quality. In terms of animals, people got goats that took over 3 years without conceiving. But this thuggery was done by the de facto president seated in Gulu or Kapeka. Rather that Honorable Awich waste time defending thieves, let him join us in people power. We bring sanity. The country is dead. Thank you. Then this one does not want to be revealed. I won't reveal your name, but you say, having only one lawyer on the panel, it is challenging to get a fully balanced interpretation of the legal implications. Given that the lawyer on set represents the leading party, they may unintentionally interpret laws with a bias toward government. For a more well-rounded debate, perhaps next time you could invite an additional lawyer with a different perspective. That is very true. I'll bring in a different lawyer. But thank you so much for those messages. And everybody who has been watching, it's been a privilege and an honor to have you on the Hotline Show. Honorable Awich, I won't give you time to give us a parting shot, but the good thing is people are always here every Monday. Starting from 7 to 9, we're always having a conversation with Uganda right here on Digital TV. Yes, Joseph Ochieno, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've come to the end of this conversation. It's exactly 9 p.m. So thank you so much. The people who have sent the messages, thank you. There were a couple of messages, but I couldn't read all of them. But most of them were really gratitude messages, thanking our viewers and Digital TV. We shall continue to serve you, and that is something we commit to. Remember, we stream live on our social media platforms. That is on Digital TV and Digital TV on Twitter and on Facebook or X. You can find us right there. From the entire team, God bless you. Good evening.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.